Have you ever felt deceived or scammed? Have you felt manipulated to act against your values or interests? Or perhaps you felt that you were promised something, but later discovered that the reality was very different from what you expected. Maybe you are living manipulated and your goodwill and innocence cloud your judgment. But listen to this. Today we will talk about manipulation techniques. I used to be tied to toxic friendships that took advantage of me, not to mention my old job, where I was practically a slave. Many people manipulated me, and I ended up doing what they wanted. However, my mother did notice what they were doing to me. She felt very sad and upset at the same time. She explained that my social circle was very toxic, and I didn't believe her. So one day she brought several books. I remember 2 were about Stoicism and another about reverse psychology. After finishing them, I understood everything. My mother was right, and those books opened my eyes. Now, understanding these manipulation techniques, no one controls me. Instead, when they try to use these control methods on me, I come out victorious because I use them against them. Let's better understand what I'm telling you. Negative social influence is a phenomenon that shows how some people or entities use subtle strategies to dominate and take advantage of others. Manipulation can occur in different areas of life, such as work, personal relationships, or social groups. Therefore, it's important to know and analyze these strategies, not only to protect your own autonomy, but also to foster healthier and more transparent relationships. It is essential to learn to resist, and to do so, we will look at the most intense manipulation strategies. Keep in mind that all knowledge is neutral, as it depends on how you use it. Therefore, these strategies are dark and dangerous, and the goal of this content is for you to learn to defend yourself from them, not to apply them against others. Use this knowledge as a tool to create a masterpiece, not to do harm. 1. Triangulation. Triangulation is a manipulation practice as subtle as it is powerful. In this method, the manipulator resorts to a third party to create jealousy or competition within the victim, creating the feeling that they need to compete for the manipulator's attention. The victim gets caught in an emotional triangle where trust erodes and communication is distorted. The manipulator may use the third party to make the victim feel jealous by flirting with them. The manipulator feeds the idea of competition in the victim's mind, sometimes even spreading rumors about the victim to the third party to turn them against each other and create even more conflict. The manipulator weaves their web using different strategies, sharing distorted or confidential information to sow discord and feed distrust between the 2 victims. How do we avoid triangulation? Recognizing the tactic is the first step. Identifying the signals and understanding their goal is crucial. Ideally, have direct dialogue with the other people involved to clarify information and dispel confusion. Don't blindly accept what is said and seek the truth by contrasting different versions. Triangulation is a form of abuse that should not be tolerated. As Epictetus said, do not be disturbed by the opinions of others. Be true to yourself. Don't let their words manipulate you. Do you know someone going through a similar situation? Send them this video. 2. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation aimed at distorting the victim's perception of reality. The manipulator uses subtle tactics to make the victim doubt their own memory, judgment, and sanity. The goal is to control and dominate the victim, making them feel insecure and dependent on the manipulator. The term gaslighting comes from a 1938 play, Gaslight, and its film adaptation. In the play, the husband manipulates his wife into believing she is going insane by dimming the gas lights in their house and then denying that the lights are flickering when she points it out. Gaslighting undermines the victim's confidence in their own judgment by deploying confusing lies, hiding information, and shifting the blame. How do we recognize gaslighting? Denying reality. Deflection projection. Minimization. Making the victim doubt their own sensory perception. From a Stoic perspective, Gaslighting is an attack on the virtue of judgment. The gaslighter seeks to distort the victim's perception of reality to control and dominate them. Staying calm is important. This will help you think better and not act impulsively. Establish boundaries. 3. Information withholding. The deliberate concealment of important or relevant information from another person to influence their decisions or perceptions is a form of manipulation. This method can significantly alter the victim's understanding and behavior, leading them to make decisions based on an incomplete or distorted view of reality. How will you defend yourself? Be aware of the possibility that information is being withheld. Adopt a questioning and investigative approach, verify data from multiple sources, and ask detailed questions. Seek transparency in all interactions and transactions, and develop critical awareness. 4. Aggressive jokes. Humiliations disguised as jokes are a form of verbal abuse. Even if they are disguised as jokes or humor, taunts and sarcasm that hurt are forms of verbal abuse, and verbal abuse is violence. When someone humiliates you with jokes, taunts, sarcasm, or irony, they hurt you, causing suffering and pain. How do we recognize this type of manipulator? Repetitive comments, taunts at the victim's expense, and lack of concern for the victim's feelings. To avoid it, express your discomfort and strengthen your self-esteem. 5. Projection. Projection involves the manipulator attributing their own negative characteristics, emotions, or motivations to the victim. This creates a veil of distortion that makes the victim doubt their own reality. The victim begins to doubt their own perceptions and feel responsible for problems or emotions that are actually the manipulator's. How do we avoid it? Recognize the tactic and identify the signs of projection. Trust your own perceptions and stand by your truth. 6. Double bind. A double bind is a communicative situation where two or more contradictory messages are sent simultaneously, creating a dilemma for the receiver. According to Gregory Bateson, many people in positions of authority use double binds as a way to manipulate and dominate others. How do we avoid it? Recognize the tactic and identify the signs of a double bind. Stay strong and trust your own perceptions. 7. Time pressure. One way to manipulate people is to create artificial time pressure. This involves making the victim believe they must act quickly to avoid a problem or seize an opportunity. The victim does not have time to reflect, investigate, or consult other sources of information. To resist this technique, it is essential to recognize when there is unnecessary time pressure. Request time to think, and don't be intimidated by the demand to act now. 8. Unpredictability. Unpredictability is a manipulation strategy that involves acting incoherently and randomly, generating confusion and insecurity in the affected person. This tactic keeps the person in a state of constant disorientation and distress. How do we avoid it? Recognize the tactic and identify the signs of unpredictability. Stay strong and trust your own perceptions. 9. Emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail involves exploiting the victim's emotions to get what the manipulator wants. The victim feels responsible for the manipulator's well-being and experiences guilt or fear of repercussions if they do not comply with the manipulator's demands. How do we avoid it? Recognize the tactic and identify the signs of emotional blackmail. Stay strong and trust your own perceptions. 10. Love bombing. Love bombing is a manipulative strategy that involves inundating the victim with displays of affection, attention, and compliments. However, it is a red flag that you should avoid at all costs. How do we avoid it? Recognize the tactic and identify the signs of love bombing. Stay strong and trust your own perceptions. 11. Isolation. Isolation is a common tactic used by manipulators to control and dominate their victims. It involves separating the victim from their support network, composed of friends, family, and others who could provide help or advice. How do we avoid it? Recognize the tactic and identify the signs of isolation. Stay strong and trust your own perceptions. 12. Playing the victim. The person who plays the victim acts as if they are the one being wronged, even when they are actually responsible for the situation. They blame others for their actions and seek sympathy by exaggerating their problems. How do we avoid it? Recognize the tactic and identify the signs of playing the victim. Stay strong and trust your own perceptions. To combat these forms of manipulation, follow these steps. Work on your self-esteem. Don't be a perfectionist. Try to alleviate your anxiety. Exercise to improve your mood. Respect others. For more tips like this, follow us on this channel. This way, the Stoic family will continue to grow, and together, we will create a better world with your help. Activate the notification bell so you know when I upload more videos. Well, that's all for today. Goodbye.